Um, we know kind of where you stand theologically. We have a clear idea of where you stand religiously. On a practical level, how it ties into lifestyle today. If people are looking for a place to come, specifically people like Jordan Peterson being very popular in and out with young men, for example, people looking for purpose,
Mhm.
who are specifically disenfranchised and have distaste for the modern liberal lifestyle. First of all, a lot of those people, I mean, I'm sure you've heard the term based, and so on in popular culture today. People that are looking for a good place to be and some kind of system of accountability to hold them to an ethical standard and to keep their family in a structured system of ethical standards and to give them some kind of system to fall back on when presenting their case for why they think something is wrong, let's say. Why would somebody choose Orthodox Judaism and not, say, Orthodox Christianity?
Because of coercion. It seems that what the Torah is trying to instill, specifically in men, is a certain sense of nobility and honor. Our patriarchs did the right thing because it was the right thing to do. They weren't promised with heaven. They weren't scared with the notion of hell, which are two things that every Christian, every Muslim who meets you on the street is the first thing they ask you. If you die today, do you know where you'll spend eternity? As a reason to want to join or not join their religion. Being that the notion of heaven and hell doesn't appear in the Torah, I think it wants you to actually put your thinking cap on. What other reason should you want to do the right thing? Well, it's because you love your children and you want to leave this world a little better than you found it for them. It gets you to grow up. 7 layers of hell, kafakela, every kabbalistic notion created to scare you into being religious. That itself makes the whole message suspect. Why would I want to join a religion that tries to keep me in check because of fear?
But that's back to the theological justification of it. Not everyone can be part of Asher Meza's community in Florida, right?
Right.
Do you advocate that somebody living in London or somebody living in New York that the Orthodox Jewish community is a better place for them there than their equivalent on the Christian side in Orthodoxy?
Truth is,
It sounds like no.
orthodoxy as it exists today is not really equipped to accept newcomers. That's a fact. However, I'm not going to deny that big picture in the long run, it's the better path, even though it's not what
Orthodox
it could
Judaism.
be. Correct. Orthodox Judaism, while Christianity and Islam is equipped to accept newcomers.
You most
I
certainly
had a
want
friend
people
of mine.
converting to Islam, though.
I'm sorry.
You most certainly wouldn't want people converting more to Islam, though.
Oh, right. No, I would prefer them converting to Christianity over Islam, but I would, for the most part, would rather them convert to Islam than atheism. Um, there are some exceptions. There's some exceptions, especially in like radical groups in Islam. But I had a friend who was suffering with depression, and he was even questioning possibly taking his life. And then he asked me for guidance. Where should he go? Because he knew I'm religiously inclined. I've been doing this for a pretty long time, and I'm thinking if I tell him to go to his local synagogue, this person wasn't Jewish, that would really seal the deal. I mean, he's going to kill himself. I mean, someone's probably going to yell at him for sitting in their seat or whatever. So I told him to go to his local church. Right. I mean, I gave him a pragmatic response that could apply to someone in his situation. However, big picture, I would view this as the micro. In the macro, I think Judaism has the potential to, in some way, thrust us forward as a people, unlike Christianity and Islam ever did. Just because I think within every Muslim and every Christian, their philosophy in some way keeps them from only growing to a specific spiritual theological height, and they just can't grow any further. But I think Judaism, because it's focused is really on the individual moral training and the ethics of it all, at least from a Torah perspective, is really the ultimate trajectory. But like every aspect in life, is always a micro versus a macro. Big picture, Judaism is the proper, most ideal path, but it may not be the right path for anyone's
So what I was asking
particular
more though is on
situation.
a practical level, do you believe that most Orthodox communities are holding that objective good standard of Torah that you hold, or is it a ethnocentric social club in most places?
It's an ethnocentric social club, unfortunately,
In most places.
in
So
most
until
places,
that's
absolutely.
solved, would you say that that a Orthodox church or a Catholic church, a traditional church, let's say, would be the better place for most people
It depends why they're
until
coming to
that's solved?
religion. No, no, wait. It depends why they're coming to religion. If someone's looking
They're
for
looking
hope,
for a hope for a good life for their family, or they're looking for some kind of something to point them to an objective truth, or an objective moral standard, an ethical standard. Even if it's for them, there's a lot of people that all they want, they get into these arguments with people in modern political debate, and they get to the
mhm,
point of your preference, my preference, what does it matter? And they go, well, what's the objective standard that I can lean on when I'm talking to
mhm.
somebody about those standards? Would you think that that an ethnocentric social club that cares about your matrilineal line is the place that's going to give that to most people in the United States or in Europe?
Well, that's why I don't promote essentially the Jewish people, but I promote what I consider Judaism, which is the Torah and the oral law. However, we do have to contend with the Jewish community. And I actually believe there's no point of becoming Jewish unless you're actually part of that Jewish community, influencing them for the good. However, if someone's not very inquisitive and someone just wants a place to belong and thrive, go to your local church. Okay. However, if you are inquisitive, if you are a searcher, and you think that you could bring luster to the Jewish people, this is the place to be. Because essentially, ethically, Judaism is a sleeping giant. That's the way I see it. So for the greater good, I think those who are capable of doing it. This is why. I mean, that's my banner whenever I do a show. That Judaism might be for you, it might not be for you. However, if you can handle it, consider Judaism. But for the average person, absolutely, I see very redeemable qualities in Islam and Christianity. So from that perspective, um, if someone is only going to be able to walk and not run, then go for Christianity. Absolutely. And like I said, Judaism,
Do you think that there
we're
might be a
trying to change
certain
it for the better. Uh-huh.
academic predisposition that makes one more inclined to one over the other?
Oh, from an academic perspective, Judaism all the way, because it's the parent of both Islam and Christianity. Islam and Christianity just brought metaphysics and narrative to the mix. However, the bedrock, the ethical bedrock of both Islam and Christianity is Judaism. Why would you want to start with the offshoot? So
Well,
just
I'm
from that
saying if somebody
perspective,
wants to delve into um, understanding things on a deeper theological level, and obviously Kabbalistic Judaism is not the way to do that, then they might also be inclined to follow Christianity over Judaism because of what that lends to that element, right?
oh, well, there's nothing objective that's ever going to come from any spiritual pursuit outside of what appears in the plain Torah alone. So like if you want to study the Book of Revelations or the Zohar, things from that perspective, being mystical that doesn't appear in the Torah, I'm always going to teach that it's optional to believe, and things that are optional to believe are not worth making sense of. So I don't think that only because you study deep, supposedly deep aspects of Kabbalah or of Christianity that you're ever going to come to anything objective.
Because you see them as two sides of the same coin, which brings us back to the beginning of the conversation of